Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo number 1634 626. They call this a satin chrome Dutch door bolt. This is what it looks like. Weighs about 1.2 pounds, at least it does with all of its accoutrement. So they're calling this a Dutch door bolt. You know, I'm not a hardware expert. But I wouldn't call this a Dutch door bolt. I would call this a surface bolt. A Dutch door bolt, to me, is a bolt that is used on a Dutch door. There would be no reason that I can think of to have such a large bolt on a Dutch door. Dutch door bolts are very visually similar to this. The shape of this oval knob, the shape of what I believe are called the... They're not clavos. There's a term for this, these guides. I'll see if I can look that up. That's very similar. But they're, you know, a third the length of this. And that's really all you need for a Dutch door. I think what Donjo is saying is, we make Dutch door bolts and we make them in different sizes. But I wouldn't say that you use this on a Dutch door bolt. This would be best for a, well, it could be used on a Dutch door, assuming that you were bolting the upper leaf to the lower leaf, and then you wanted to bolt the upper leaf to the head. I don't know. The length of this would tell me that it's probably really good to use as a surface bolt on either a 7-foot or maybe even an 8-foot tall door, or maybe at the bottom where you don't want to bend over so far, lower at the bottom part of the door to operate that bolt. But calling it a Dutch door bolt, I think, is a reference to its design, the aesthetic of the bolt. Let's go over the dimensional properties. Overall length of the rod, about 12 1/4. You know, it will have about an overall length of maybe 12 5/8. Overall width of the bolt itself, 5/8. Has a thickness of about 5/16. The length of the guides that are here are about 2 1/8 by about 15/16. And the mounting points bring it out to about 1 3/8. This is going to have 3 of these guides. There's going to be certainly a piece of anti-friction material inside of here so that when that bolt slides back and forth, you're not going to damage the face of the bolt. Your total projection is limited by how far it can travel from this position to that pin. Okay, so that, and I say that because people ask, what is the projection? How far will it throw? And this is about 1 3/16, a theoretical sort of, yes, no, about 1 5/16. Sorry, 1 5/16, theoretically. You know, maybe 1 1/4. That's plenty of length for you to throw, you know, throw the bolt, so to speak. Nice quality fit and finish. It's made of solid brass. That's why they're using the 626 in the part number, because it's made of brass. Not every single thing in here is brass. That screw there is, you know, holds that bolt, and that knob on is made of steel. But the fact of the matter is, with the exception of what's in here that's keeping it from scratching the face of the bolt as it slides, piece of nylon, you know, maybe I've seen tempered steel as well, but I don't think that's what it is. It's all brass, made of solid brass with a satin chrome finish on it. Okay. This Dutch door bolt is going to include 3 strikes. And let's take a look at those 3 strikes. Well, you'll have a mortise strike, and I'll show you how these are installed in a moment. You'll have a rim strike. Then you're going to have an angle strike. This strike's not used very often. But it's not uncommon to use either. This would be used up at the header. This can be, a mortise strike would be used in a push side application. A rim strike would be used in a pull side application. The angle strike would be used in a push side application where you're mortising it to the header is probably where that would be. Quick dimensional properties of these. The mortise, about 2 inch, just heavy on that, by about 3/4. The angle strike, about 2 1/8, ½ inch by maybe 15/16. The rim strike, about 1 inch and 13/16. Overall width, about 1 inch and 9/16. To the center of the hole, about 1 inch and 1/16. From the center line of this plate, which is really basically how they're measured, to the center line, pardon me, to the edge of the lip, about 1 inch and 3/16. And that dimension would be considered very standard for strikes in terms of a lip length. A whole package of screws, more than you'll need, but there you go. Screws are going to be made of steel. That's not a bad thing in the sense that at least the composition of the screw is strong enough so that you don't unintentionally, whoa, that broke really easy. And you realize that it's got a gold undertone, the part that's sheared off, and it's a brass screw. And steel is more tolerant of stripping or shearing screws off when you've not pre-drilled the hole, using the presence of mind to understand that you're running in a very soft metal screw. So very typical. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at the supporting documentation and how these strikes are applied. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a look at some photographs that we have first. There's the label. There's everything in the box. The bolt itself. The guide, the shape of the bolt, the half moon, they call it. Profile of the knob. The guide itself. Your 3 strikes. Your screw package. Okay, extended description information. You know what? Before we do that, let's take a look at the finishes that are available. So these bolts can be done in a 605 polished brass, a 613 oil rubbed bronze, a 619 satin nickel, a 620 antique nickel, 625 polished chrome, 626 satin chrome. Extended description, solid brass, 12 by inch and 5/8. Inch and 5/8, that's going to be the width of the mounting of the guides. 5/8 half round, furnished with rim, mortise, and T-strikes. Rim, mortise, and T-strike. I'm calling the T-strike a rim strike. They're calling the rim strike the angle strike. 1 inch diameter knob, I didn't measure that. Let me do so now. It's not, it's about 1 1/4 inches. About 1 1/4 inches on that. We talk about the fasteners that are included, finishes, and sold as each one. When you buy one, we'll ship you one. Here's your template, all the dimensional properties on this item. You can see where the 12 inch is coming into play. They reference the other finishes that are listed, all the other dimensions of the bolt that is available here. Now, there's a product catalog here. Before we get to that, let's take a look at how these strikes can be used. Okay, let's go over these 3 different strikes. Actually, I can keep part of this drawing, I think. Okay, so the rim strike. Surface mount application. Let's just imagine we're drawing it horizontally. You would certainly be installing it this way or this way. You could install it horizontally. That's just going to be pretty unusual. You could, though. But that rim strike, whether you install it at the header, it's going to look like this. Going to need a little extra chutzpah on that. Like that. That's how that's going to mount. Okay. So that's a rim strike. That's going to be mortised into the edge or the rabbet of the frame. And that's what that would look like, except imagine, I suppose, if we were looking at this in a rotated fashion so that it actually looked like this. Okay, that bolt would be up here. That's what it would look like. Now, the mortise strike would be in a push side application where you might have a push side application would be, let's just get rid of that. Let's just do it up in the header. Is where you're going to mount that strike very possibly right in here. Your door is going to sit here. Okay, you kind of get the concept with that. Now, conversely, just to use the other side of the drawing, that angle strike can go in here. You'd mortise that in. And then same scenario. Your bolt would come like that. So that angle strike could go here in this area. But you're probably going to use one strike in one application and another strike in another application. What I mean is, you aren't going to use the mortise strike at the bottom of the door. Pardon me, you're not going to use the rim strike or the angle strike at the bottom of the door. You'd only use the mortise. Whereas up at the header, depending on it being in swing or out swing, this could be, that could be in swing, that can be out swing, however you'd like to position that. So that's how I would end up applying those different types of strikes. And allowing, to dispel what these three different strikes are really used for is pretty handy. Unfortunately, Don Joe doesn't really give guidance as to where you would use these, but there's always going to be one strike that's best for the application, and I think the way I've outlined it does lead us to which strike is best for the application. Doors normally swing in, so at the header you're probably going to use this one. At the bottom you're probably going to use this one. The angle strike is going to be pretty uncommon. That's just simply the bottom line. Okay. Top of the door, bottom of the door, and whatever your application might be for that one. Now, there is a link below this video as well to the product catalog. Let's not look at it there. Let's look at it here. The link to the manufacturer's page where we can pull up not only all of the Don Joe products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to their full product catalog, but that same full product catalog broken down into several subsections. And we're looking for bolts. Somewhere there'll be bolts. Bolts and latches, right there. You were all screaming at it. There it is. Okay, 1634. Whoops. Bolts and latches. Control F for a find function on your keyboard, 1634. Here's the table where you can find these. Turns out they make these in different sizes. The 4.5 is the one that I think of as a Dutch door bolt because it's nice and petite and looks like this. Really tiny little bolt that's just simply right here. That would be a nice Dutch door bolt because it's small. You don't need to have it too large. But the point is they make these bolts in other sizes, and 8 or 12, 18, 24, 36. Why would you need these different sizes? Well, you have a 7-foot door. Probably get away with an 8-inch bolt, maybe 12-inch. Probably 12-inch would be better. You've got an 8-foot door. Well, you're probably going to want to think about extending the length of that bolt, or a 9-foot door. So that's where you'll see these. And then very occasionally, people will use longer bolts at the bottom of the door because the user, the client, is physically incapable or very much not interested in bending over so far down to move a bolt. So if you can move that up a little bit bigger, that'd be great. And it's common. You know, I have clients who buy these bolts and they're installing them for elderly people. And, you know, the end user, the owner says, I realize that it's going to look awful there because of how big it is, but I can't bend over. And that's just where they'll use longer bolts as well. But, of course, as the height grows, so too would the length of that surface bolt. Okay. The different part numbers, the different lengths, the different finishes are listed here. Okay. Now, the rest of this catalog, the bolts and latches catalog, which we were in, will allow you to review all such items from Danjo. Flush bolts for metal and wood doors. Just to quickly go through this. Automatic flush bolts for steel doors. Same for wood doors. Residential caliber flush bolts. Aluminum storefront. There's two different sizes here. There's an offset. There's a different offset. What in the world is that? You would never know unless you knew what it was. And here's what it is. The face of this, the face of the faceplate, and the face of this mounting component. Whatever. Here's the, sorry, here's the body. You've got your flip lever, okay? Where that screw goes in, the offset is the distance from here to there, if that was flush, okay? It's either quarter or eighth. There's actually a third size that Danjo doesn't make that I don't see very often, but that's how you'll know which it is. Dust-proof strikes for both wood and threshold applications. Roller latches in different configurations with different strikes. Ball catches, three-way catches. They call it a friction catch. That's called a three-way because you can approach that in, you know, from here, from face on, or from the bottom. Magnetic catches, single pole, triple pole, surface bolts, modern style. That 1580 is very, very common. A padlockable version of that same bolt. Modern style surface bolts. You'll know these because they're just very thin and petite in footprint. In fact, this client bought one of these as well, a 6-inch version. All right, let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. I apologize for that noise the microphone was picking up. We're building a skid outside, sending some doors off. So very nice quality item. Would have no reservations about using this or ordering this from Danjo. They are a company that can be characterized or summarized by the following words: professional, prompt, reliable, predictable, economical. These folks know the business. They've been in it for decades. They have I've said it many times, a relatively petite footprint within the industry, but they have a comprehensive offering of products. If you know the name Danjo at all, it's probably not for a 12-inch Dutch door bolt. It's probably for their U-shaped wraparound door reinforcers or latch protectors is probably why you know their name. And those catalogs indeed are there, but I would encourage you to not stop at those two products because they have all these other items. We just went through 8 pages of bolts that, frankly, many people, if you're not in the industry, you're not aware that they make. There's, you know, lots of people to buy many of those products from. But Danjo is as worthy of that business as anyone else. And given the fact that they are a company that has on staff people who understand the hardware industry, I would say that that would give them a leg up. Any questions on the Danjo number 1634-626 Satin Chrome Dutch door bolt or any other Danjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.